The Wine Insiders presents an insider's tour and tasting at Duckhorn's Goldeneye Winery in the Anderson Valley. Winemaker Zach Rasmuson will tell us about the rewards and challenges of working with Pinot Noir. Also, listen carefully for details about how you can win a special Goldeneye Pinot Noir sampler pack.
Welcome back, Hal.
Hey, Zach, how are you?
Good, how you been?
Well, I'm really well. Actually, I'm thirsty. Can you help me out?
Absolutely.
So, Zach, where are we?
We're actually in Dan Duckhorn's private cellar, which we refer to as the R&D room.
So you mentioned Dan Duckhorn. How does Duckhorn Winery, famous for Napa Valley Merlot, end up making Pinot Noir in the Anderson Valley?
That's an interesting question. As Dan and Margaret tell it, it's as their palates evolved, they became more attracted to wines such as Pinot Noir, which were more based in elegance and balance and finesse as opposed to the strength and force of the Napa Valley Cabernets and Merlots.
Let me ask you, which came first, James Bond Goldeneye or Dan Duckhorn Goldeneye?
It's funny that you ask. Actually, a lot of people don't know that the Goldeneye is actually a name of a duck that migrates through the Anderson Valley in Northern California.
Okay, so I get it, the whole Duckhorn duck theme is going on here?
Yeah, exactly, but it's not, the truth be known, Dan has a fondness of ducks that was born out of duck hunting.
Okay.
And a childhood in Northern California.
So Zach, this is awesome. Can we just pop one of these babies open?
Well, hold on, I got a special tasting for you out in the tasting room. Why don't you should come with me?
All right, let's go out there.
Okay.
Zach, these look awesome. What are we tasting today?
To taste the new releases from our core wines that we make here at Goldeneye.
4 wines total this year.
Exactly.
Okay.
And we're starting with the newest Migration bottling, which is, Migration is a sister label to Goldeneye, and we're taking efforts to stylize Migration to be a little more fruit forward, a little more simplistic fruits, and they typically come from some of our younger vineyards through our plantings.
So would you say traditionally the Migration is more approachable upon release?
It is. We typically release it a full vintage ahead of the Goldeneye,
Okay.
which we hold back much longer both in barrel and in bottle.
Okay. Cheers. That's delicious.
It is.
So describe the flavors in here, if you will, please.
Well, to me, I see more of the typical Anderson Valley cherry and strawberry core with a little bit of clove, and again, in a lighter style than the Goldeneye wine.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty spicy wine, this vintage, I'd say.
It is. You know, that I think a contribution from the oak. We do have oak influence in all of our wines.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is really nice wine. I enjoyed this. What kind of foods do you think this pairs well with?
You could do, lamb, pork, roast. I mean, it's so food friendly.
So what wine are we going to sample next?
We'll go on to the Goldeneye.
And this is your flagship wine here.
It is. This is the reason that we're here. And you can see when
It's a long finish.
it is, and a much more concentrated, structured wine. This is our core wine.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the wine that when we go to bed at night that we dream about drinking Pinot Noir.
And what do you pair this with for menus?
A little more hearty, can hold up to some more spice and obviously some more rugged food elements.
Mm-hmm. So if you were a collector and you were putting a few of these in your cellar, when would you drink the Migration versus when would you drink the Goldeneye?
I recommend drinking the Migration the first 3 to 5 years, as it is stylized in a lighter style.
Uh-huh.
However, the Goldeneye, and more as our vineyards age, I think will be suitable to age between 5 and 15 years.
Wow. So Zach, what would you say are some of the trademark Goldeneye flavors that have made it so popular with wine critics and with consumers?
Well, I think that we've finally embraced terroir in California, and we're no longer using Burgundy as sort of a false benchmark. What we're doing is embracing that we can make ripe fruit. We can really ripen the flavors. And so away from the simple and cherry berry flavors that Pinot Noir had made in California in the past, we're really broadening the spectrum and getting some of the darker fruits and some of the more exotic elements that you can get out of ripe Pinot Noir.
What's the next vintage or next wine we're going to taste?
Well, the inside scoop here today, Hal, is that we are soon to release our first vineyard designated wines. This is the Confluence Vineyard Designated, a small production wine that we made from our estate ranch here.
So right here
in
where we
Goldeneye.
are?
Exactly.
Okay. So tell me, what are some of the unique flavors we're tasting out of this vineyard designate versus your other wines?
Well, from this vineyard specifically, we tend to see really ripe strawberry, cherry elements with always a clove undertone.
And you've got another vineyard designate?
I do. This is from the Narrows.
Okay.
The Narrows is at the opposite end of the spectrum. It's in the northeast, so far into the Anderson Valley that it's really, it's no longer properly in the valley. It's in the redwood zone that separates Anderson Valley from the Mendocino coast.
Okay.
It's a hillside vineyard, steep in its aspect, and makes wines of great character.
Well, the aromas are completely different.
Completely. This is meaty and gamey
It
as
is.
opposed to the fruity,
I get like mushrooms, truffles.
a little bit of forest floor.
It's a savory wine.
It is, and I think with aging potential, that will surpass all of the other wines, maybe even to the 15 to 20 years.
And would you drink this with different food versus, say, the Goldeneye?
I think that Pinot Noir is so versatile as a varietal that you can choose to drink Pinot Noirs with a wide spectrum of foods, whether it be fish or poultry dishes or your red meat or even vegetarian cuisine. And that's one of the beauties of Pinot Noir.
Zach, this has been great.
Hey, I've got one more treat for you. Why don't we head out to the barrel room and I'll show you some of the components that we have for the next Goldeneye.
Okay, I'm game.
Good.
So Zach, now we're in the Goldeneye barrel room. What takes place here?
Well, we're actually in the Anderson Valley's oldest barn, dating back to 1840, where we've retrofitted the building in order to be our barrel room, where the next vintage will sit in months until we have the opportunity to blend it into the Goldeneye blend. Pinot Noir can be fairly plastic. It can express itself in many different ways. What we try to do in blending is take the different parts from our different sites and our different locations and clones and rootstocks and put them together to make a perfect wine.
Okay, you say the perfect wine. Is it the same sort of taste profile you're trying to achieve each vintage, or how does that work?
Well, when you address a concept, for example, with Goldeneye, we do try for continuity in style from year to year. Obviously, you'll get vintage differentiation, and that's what's interesting about wine. But we do keep our eyes on a stylistic goal. We have 4 different vineyard properties in the Anderson Valley, and within them over 100 different blocks of 22 different clones on 14 different rootstocks.
Okay, so that makes your job pretty interesting.
Exactly.
Well, you're making me thirsty. Can we have a little preview today?
Absolutely. This is from our Confluence Vineyard, which is our estate vineyard, where our tasting room sits.
Okay.
And it's also the vineyard which lies in the southeasterly most part of the valley for us, and in what would be most closely described as as valley floor. And so what you'd expect is wines of great opulence that express more forward fruit as opposed to hillside vineyards.
Okay, let's give it a test drive.
So you see some bright cherry, strawberry characters that we're used to seeing from that end of the valley.
Okay, so that's the key component from this vineyard you're looking to achieve as part of an overall mix.
Exactly, and it is our largest vineyard, and so what we see is our Goldeneye style is most coherent with this style of wine.
So this is already beautiful. Now, how long has this been in barrel?
About maybe 4 months at this
Okay.
point, yeah.
What's the most challenging aspect of blending different Pinot Noir from different vineyards?
Probably the most difficult part is Pinot Noir is so plastic through its aging cycle. It can present to you something on one day and completely different. That's one of the challenges people talk to when they point to Pinot Noir as being the holy grail of winemaking. It can dive undercover. It can show something one day that it doesn't show again. So it's really trying to mimic the blends through repetition to make sure you're blending the wine you think you're blending.
So it surprises you from time to time.
Exactly.
And then how do you know you've achieved the holy grail?
Through hard work and repetition.
And do you know you've achieved it when you put it in the bottle, or does it take a few years afterwards?
You never know. It's the winemaker's worst moment, the day of bottling, because it's your ultimate. I mean, you're finishing the wine. You've lost any opportunity at that point to change it. And so, for the neurotic, it's probably
It's an ongoing challenge.
Exactly.
Well, I'll tell you what, Zach, I sure have enjoyed our time. Thanks for joining us,
Great.
the Wine Insiders, and cheers to you.
Cheers.